Whiting coming off one of her best games as a BYU Cougar. Kristen, career high 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists.
She sets the tone for this BYU team on both sides of the ball. She's a young sophomore point guard, the daughter of head coach Amber Whiting, but she's a defensive pest. She thrives with that on-ball pressure, and one of her best offensive games needs to continue to keep that rolling in this one.
What a matchup we have to watch on the guard line. Across the way, the very talented and experienced Serena Sundell leads all of Division I in assists at 7.3 per game.
And does that at 6'2". She's a taller point guard, but she helps drive the train for the Wildcats. She's so good with her decision making, but takes advantage of those mismatches. So look for her to post up as well when they get the switch they want.
In the post. Last year, Aoka Lee did not play against BYU in Manhattan, and the Cougars almost took advantage in a massive upset. Well, this year, the Cougars not so fortunate. They're dealing with one of the best post presences in the country.
She decided to return, and boy, is Coach Mitty happy to have her back. 6'6", fifth-year senior. She's an All-American. She's been on the National Player of the Year watch list 4 times. 6th in the nation, averaging 66% around the rim. She's efficient. She does well using her angles. It's going to be a tall task for Emma Calvert of BYU, also a senior at 6'4". She needs to utilize that height in there, but not get herself into foul trouble. Rotate on the airtime of the ball.
BYU and Kansas State moments away from tip-off at the Marriott Center. Great to have you with us on ESPN+. BYU a heavy underdog on their home floor, to say the least. A win against this Kansas State team is the type of victory that could totally change the trajectory of BYU's recent frustrations.
Yeah, build off that win that they had against Houston, and there was a lot of positives for Coach Whiting to pull from that. Number one, they moved the ball and they took care of the ball. This Cougar team has struggled taking care of the basketball. They averaged 21.5 giveaways in Big 12 play, but they only had about 10 in that game, just 13 actually turnovers, so take care of the ball.
Tip off, and we're underway. Back to Sundell. Kansas State controls to open up the game. Sundell immediately inside to Aoka Lee. There is a nice defensive play by Emma Calvert on the block shot, and BYU looking to run.
Clear emphasis to get the ball down low to Lee from the get-go. Great block from Calvert.
Delaney Gibb, part of that very young and talented guard duo for BYU, scores first.
Gibb averaging 16.5 points per game to lead this BYU team as a true freshman. And boy, a tough one early for Emma Calvert. We talked about the foul trouble because BYU does not have a ton of depth to be able to contain Lee in the post.
Away from the ball, no less. Calvert has been challenged to try and push Lee out of the post as much as possible. Kansas State opts for the skip. Nice floater inside from Jalen Glenn, and Kansas State equalizes 2-2.
Offensively, that's what they're looking for. If that help side shrinks in too much on Lee, then they're looking at the skip pass, so beautifully executed offensively.
And another senior coming up with the first 2 for the Wildcats. Gibb off the high screen from Calvert. Oh, quick little flip with the right hand. And she beats the outstretched block attempt of Aoka Lee.
She's had some shooting woes the last couple of games, so I like to see that she's aggressive playing downhill, getting to the rim. Open that basket up by knocking a few ones down.
BYU opting for the switch on the perimeter. Offensive rebound by Lee on the miss. Back to Poindexter for 3. That's just long, and Gibb collects the rebound.
BYU dodging a bullet there. They have to do a better job boxing out, secure that defensive board.
Gibb, a little too much dribbling inside. Kansas State's active hands come away with the turnover. Lee quickly to Zayana Walker. Here is Sundell. Poindexter straight away will take the 3. That's short. Rebound to Amari Whiting. BYU certainly wants to push and try and dictate this tempo, as Whiting has her shot blocked out of bounds by the retreating Walker.
It's a big part of what this BYU team does, and their identity is push the ball. As you mentioned, Spencer, they want to push tempo, but also be smart and take a high percentage shot, not force the situation. But they really want to put the Wildcats back on their heels defensively.
Early substitution for Amber Whiting's BYU team, as Kendra Gillespie comes in to defend against Aoka Lee. There's Lauren Davenport. That's a really good sign for BYU's offense. Given Davenport's recent shooting struggles, she scores from the short corner left to give BYU a 4-point lead.
Dav just averages 5 points per game, but boy, if she can get going, it's going to stretch the defense.
Lee, tough shot over Gillespie. in that post matchup.
So Gillespie has a few smaller inches than what we saw with Calvert. She's at 6'2", Calvert at 6'4", but Gillespie probably has the strength advantage where she can push Lee, make her uncomfortable, get her off her spot.
Kemery Congdon behind a screen from Gillespie, and that's going to be an offensive foul on Gillespie for the moving screen. So another quick turnover by BYU. The Cougars hold the slight 6-4 lead just about 2.5 minutes in.
BYU with those 2 turnovers. This is a very efficient Wildcats team, #1 in the nation in field goal percent. And when you're handing the ball over, this can get out of hand quickly.
Sundell knows where to go. Lee inside on the block over Gillespie again. Calvert does have more inches to compete with in that post matchup than Gillespie does. We'll see how long Amber Whiting keeps her starter in the post on the bench.
Well, and she doesn't want to pick up another foul for Calvert. Picking up that early one really hurts you, and how you play, how aggressive you can be with Lee in the post.
6-6. Whiting working around the screen of Gillespie. 3 might have been partially blocked. No, just a straight air ball. Correction, that was tipped. I thought I saw that. It'll stay with BYU. The officials collaborate and give it back to BYU.
BYU bench yelling out to execute. They know how important it is to be efficient and run their offense, run their baseline out of bounds.
Shot clock down to 3. Davenport, right corner 3 is long and rebounded by Sundell, looking to push ahead for Walker. Walker has an angle. She'll take it, but her shot is blocked out of bounds by Gibb.
Such a luxury to have #4 out there for the Wildcats, Serena Sundell. She gets the rebound, she pushes the ball quickly, she can run the offense, she gets everyone set up for success. And watch Walker, good D by Gibb, just to body her up, but not too much contact, play straight up.
Sundell inside for Lee again, fading away. Shot doesn't drop, but she's hit on the wrist, it looked like, by Gillespie. And here comes Emma Calvert. Gillespie has 2 fouls already.
We brought up that game last year in Manhattan, and they did not have Lee, as we were talking about. They did have Lauren Gustin, and Gustin just absolutely dominated them. 25 points, 21 rebounds. So it's a completely different looking roster, but if BYU is not able to stay with Lee down there on the block, push her off her spots, she is going to have a monster game.
Lee drops in the first, and Kansas State in front by 1. What a luxury for Kansas State head coach Jeff Mittie to have Lee off to come back, and she has been nothing short of a superstar for this team that is full of veterans. Now some extended pressure from the Wildcats, who lead by 2. Gibb, runner from the free throw line, rims off, and the Wildcats now looking to get out quickly. Sundell, skip pass, look at the ball movement. Poindexter open 3, got it.
Around the horn to the opposite side, a wide open look. So you're passing up a good shot for a great shot, and that's why they are the #1 team also in assists per game at about 23 coming in.
Calvert back in. Whiting cut off on the baseline, back to Calvert. 2 dribbles around Lee, and then a steal. Active hands in the passing lane. Poindexter knows how to finish. A 9-0 run for Kansas State.
Great job from the transfer out of Tulsa, just getting in that passing lane, jumping it, and then the finish in transition. Now the Wildcats clicking on all cylinders, doing a really good job getting the ball in the paint, finding Lee, but also moving the ball when it's not there, and continuing to be unselfish. A tremendous player, an all-star for this team, and she just made quite the impact for the Wildcats over the years. This is her 5th season with Coach Mittie. Look at those numbers, 2,400 career points. She also has over 1,000 career rebounds.
Well, depending on what she does, she'll hit 2,500 in 2.5 games, probably. At her pace, incredible stuff from Aoka Lee. Kemery Congdon and BYU. Give to Brinley Cannon, back out to Congdon, who's a good 3-point shooter. Good bounce pass inside. And good ball movement by BYU to beat that Kansas State zone.
And the patience, right? The experience coming from Kemery Congdon to just pick apart, dissect that zone, get to the middle, off the bounce, so you're pinching the gaps, and then the dive from Calvert for the finish.
Davenport on Sundell. Here's Kennedy Taylor, and giving back to Sundell. Well, they just make it look really easy. And that's a big point of emphasis for Jeff Mittie. like, of course you want to make shots early, but I don't want teams to just get in the habit of taking good shots, and they have done that.
Quality, right? Quality over quantity, because, and that was the same with the start of the game. He wanted a fast start, but he wanted a quality start, where you're taking good high percentage shots, and particularly on the road. They went up 18-4 against Utah on Tuesday, had a red hot start. A lot of it because the ball's moving, they know exactly what their game plan is, get the ball in the middle early.
Cambry Barber into the game, missed the shot, but got an offensive rebound. Back out to Congdon for 3.
I'll tell you, that's one way that this BYU team can hang with Kansas State, is knock down the three-point shot. BYU loves the three ball, but they've got to step up, just like Congdon did there, and be ready to shoot.
Undoubtedly, it will take something extraordinary for BYU to keep this game close and be in position to win. More good ball movement for Kansas State. That 3 is missed by Taryn Sides, who had a wide open look from the angle. But BYU gets the defensive rebound. Congdon just hit the 3 from the free throw line. She's left alone. Opts for Cannon inside, and Cannon has her shot knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with BYU. 4:15 to play in the opening quarter and 17 seconds on the shot clock.
Well, and Congdon was looking for the pass, as you mentioned, wide open. You got to look for your shot initially. Here's another look at the offensive possession, where she steps up, knocks down that three-point shot.
Delaney Gibb gets it right back from Calvert. Calvert, capable three-point shooter, and showing it right there. BYU has cut the Kansas State lead down to 1.
With back-to-back three-point shots, you can close the gap very quickly, but they've got to do a much better job on the defensive side of the ball.
Lee, great position inside. Again, making it look very easy in the post.
She's so strong and does her work early at establishing that territory down low, using her angles.
Calvert trying to answer back. Offensive rebound. Cannon, Lee there threatening and forcing a turnover with that big frame and her long hands outstretched. Transition 3 is no good. That one missed by Gisela Sanchez out of Barcelona, Spain. BYU looking to run. Delaney Gibb. Tough shot early in the shot clock. Gibb battling for the ball. Still loose underneath the legs of Lee and tracked down by Sanchez.
Every possession so crucial. You had 3 Wildcats jerseys around there, and just Gibb. And I know that the BYU Cougars trying to get back in transition don't want to give up anything easy, but you got to scramble to win those 50-50 balls.
Lee, Calvert does have the 1 foul. Lee opts for Sanchez, driving baseline right. Tip ball, kept in by Sundell, cycled to Walker. Walker back out for Sides. Sides 3 with the shot clock winding down as long, and Calvert grabs that rebound for BYU.
Best defensive possession for BYU on that trip down, and they need more of that.
Gibb, oh, what a shot by the fabulous freshman for BYU. It's tied at 17.
You can see the laser focus in her eyes that she wants the ball. She wants to take this team on her back offensively.
There's Gibb coming over on some weak side help. She comes up with the steal on the entry pass for Lee. Gibb has Barber open for 3. Good! BYU back in front by 3. The Cougars have connected on 4 3-pointers in the opening quarter, including this from Delaney Gibb, and then the most recent in transition, Kristen, from Barber from Gibb.
12-2 run, and a big part coming from Delaney Gibb, knocking down that first one, as you mentioned, but defensively rotating, help side, and getting that steal and pushing the break. BYU needs to continue to keep their foot on the gas pedal in transition, push the tempo, try to get some easy looks so you're not such battle-tested in the half-court set. But Delaney Gibb playing red hot right now. 7 points on 3 of 5 shooting. She's 1 for 1 from distance, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, just doing a little bit of everything.
She's got a block and a steal as well. BYU 5 assists on 8 makes. Kansas State 5 assists on their 7 makes. Both teams sharing the ball very well early in this game. Amber Whiting for BYU. This is year 2 of Big 12 competition for the Cougars. And again, there's a look at Jeff Mitty in his 11th season. Has built a powerhouse of women's basketball in Manhattan. And there's Calvert battling with Lee, and that is a huge call. Calvert with 2 fouls already late in the first quarter.
Look, Heather just off balance and just trying to use her body to lean on Lee. You can't do that. She's got to be more balanced. Now, Heather Hampson, a little bit more size. She also has the strength. And one of the top defensive bigs that Coach Whiting has. Let's see what she can do on Lee.
BYU going deep in the bench post, and there's a great move by Ziana Walker to get around Amari Whiting and score.
A smart move, because BYU's not going to help off Lee, so they're going to have a wide open lane on that left side if they play downhill.
Gibb downhill for BYU, can't finish the layup. Walker with the rebound, and Kansas State looking to take this lead back. Sundell into Hampson, lost it, ball loose. Sundell gets it back. Look at Serena Sundell. That's a guard, Kristen, playing like a forward right there.
She is very fired up. When you talk to the coaching staff, she's very quiet off the court, but you love to see the fire when she's out there on the court. She becomes a different player.
Whiting, good spin move, but she too misses the bunny inside. There is Barber trying to take the ball back, knocking it out of bounds on the outlet pass, and it'll be Kansas State possession under a minute to play in what has been a back and forth, entertaining first quarter.
Couple easy ones around the rim that BYU has to do a better job converting and knocking down when you have those opportunities that close to the basket.
BYU jumped out to a 6-2 lead, then Kansas State went on an 11-0 run, answered by a 12-2 run by BYU. We stand at a one-point game. Kansas State with the skip pass, Walker, air ball on the three.
Outstanding job by Heather Hampson. I'm looking to run the floor, trying to be the first big down the floor.
Gibb behind Hampson's screen. That too barely graces rim. Whiting can't keep it in play. Shot clock off for the remainder of the first quarter. 28.1 to play. And Kansas State, if they choose, can hold for the final shot here in the opening 10 minutes. Delaney Gibb will get a well-deserved breather. Ayoka Lee as well, off the floor to catch her breath. The altitude, the base of the Wasatch Mountains in Provo. Walker with Whiting all over her defensively. Clock down to 10 seconds. Here's Sides. Bounce pass inside for Lester. Lester goes back to Sides with 5 and 4. Sides. Patient pass inside. That is an absolute dynamic play late in the clock. It just shows the veteran leadership and just the moxie of this Kansas State team.
Well, and Terrence Sides just won an assist and then third in assist turnover. I mean, for BYU to have shot 42% in that first quarter, 4 for 7 from 3 points, we can't overstate enough how crucial that was for this BYU team to knock down shots when they had the opportunities. That's how you stay with the 12th ranked team in the nation, knocking down shots when you have them. I thought that when Heather Hampson came in, she was solid on Ayoka Lee, and she just bodied her up and did a really good job. She's going to play a lot of minutes in this one because Calvert and Gillespie are already in foul trouble.
Had a friend ask me, Spencer, what about this Kansas State team? What makes them so impressive? I'm like, #1 team in assists and field goal percentage, so let's just go ahead and start there.
Yeah, they are just so efficient. They move the ball. Nobody plays selfish. They play the right way.
Hampson. Not a bad move, trying to score around Imani Lester, but can't connect, and the Wildcats get the stop. They'll look to build on a 3-point lead as we open up the second quarter. Lester inside, good give and go. Offensive rebound, but the putback by Maupin is left short. It's almost like she didn't give herself enough time to gather and then reconnect off the floor. Hampson, offensive rebound off the Whiting miss, and Heather Hampson has scored.
And those are the plays that are really going to frustrate Coach Mitty, the non-box out, not finding Heather Hampson, but she needs to continue to manufacture as much as she can on the offensive glass.
Whiting all over Walker. Lester takes the bounce pass inside. Hampson on her back. Now Lester will bring it back out to the perimeter and hand off to Glenn. Glenn has Lester at the left elbow. Good ball movement. Results in a wide open 3 attempt by Walker. Kept alive by Maupin primarily, and Walker has it back again. Inside, backdoor cut on the baseline. Just persistence by Kansas State.
They're taking advantage of that second chance opportunity. That was their 5th offensive rebound. BYU then is scrambling a little bit, scrambling on the closeouts, trying to match up, trying to regroup defensively on an offensive board.
Hampson is fouled by Lester. Heather Hampson having an impact early in this game because BYU's 2 primary post presences in Emma Calvert and Kendra Gillespie both have 2 fouls.
You see the follow, and Walker doing a really good job driving, selfish play on the cut. Heather Hampson finding herself at the free throw line, but she did not play in the last 3 games. She played in the initial game when we opened Big 12 against Arizona, but she has not played in the last 3 because of the minutes that Calvert and Gillespie get, and she's doing a fantastic job here in this first half.
Just the 9th free throw attempted all season for Hampson, and 10th, she makes both. She's 8 for 10 on the season from the charity stripe and pulls BYU back within 1. Sundell with Gibb on her. Maupin, Poindexter in rhythm. You cannot blink against these guards on the perimeter, Kristen. They will catch it in rhythm and shoot so quickly.
Well, especially Poindexter. She's already shot over 100 3-point shots this season, but she averages 36%. You have to mark them up and contest everything on their perimeter.
Gibb trying to answer. That's no good, and Kansas State back on the opposite side. Beautiful pick and roll. Poindexter doing it outside and collecting and scoring on the inside on a gorgeous assist from the nation's best assist woman in Serena Sundell. Congdon wanted a 3. It's probably a rush shot. No ball movement from BYU on that possession down the floor, and Kansas State gets it right back with the 6-point lead.
When you're just standing and you're not quite in rhythm, as you mentioned, it is rush. You don't have rebounders as well to go down there and try to create off the offensive glass.
Poindexter, open 3. She has 8 consecutive points for Kansas State, and the Wildcats are in front by 9, just like that. Whiting, Hampson rolling to the hoop, back out for Gibb. BYU, a little desperation here at about the midway point of the second quarter. Whiting contacts Lee, that's blocked out of bounds and falls off of Whiting's back. What a defensive play by Lee.
Like a brick wall in there, just standing her ground, going straight up as Whiting tried to challenge her. And at 6'6", when she's extending both of those hands, it is so tough to shoot over. Already a couple blocks in this game for Kansas State.
Aoka Lee, 34 blocks on the season now. Poindexter cooled for the moment after that 8-0 run, all by her lonesome. Cannon had space for a moment, now opts for Congdon. Congdon driving inside, right-handed layup, misses everything.
Continues to rush her shot, even attacking the rim, didn't need to, and Poindexter left wide open. That's miscommunication by this BYU team. She's hit 3 threes. You have to be able to find Poindexter.
Cannon is tied up by Lee, possession arrow to Kansas State. Amber Whiting, as I decipher some not-so-subtle context clues, doesn't appear to agree with the call.
There's definitely some contacts on the arm, but the officials have been letting them play. And I'll tell you, to start this second quarter, Kansas State up 10-4, 10-4 here in the second frame, and they are just bullying BYU right now. They're being more physical, they're cutting harder, they're moving on the offensive side of the ball.
Hampson's size and physicality seem to be the answer in defending Aoka Lee. Good pass inside from Gibb. Heather Hampson with 6 points for BYU on top of some resolute defending.
And she's played 6 minutes so far in this first half, and they have needed her size and her physicality down low to challenge the lead.
Sundell spinning around Gibb. It's a great pass. Lee just overshot the hoop. 3-on-3. BYU will now settle into the offense. Hampson to Davenport. Long. And Poindexter into grab that rebound and give to Sundell.
Well, BYU completely cold in this quarter, struggling to get anything to go down. They are 2 for 9, 0 for 3 in the second frame.
Jeff Mitty a little frustrated with how quickly that shot went in from Terran Sides and looked at his bench, and the assistant coach said, "We need to move the ball."
And when they move the basketball, they're getting any look they want. Now, are they always falling? Not necessarily. That's just basketball. So she finished 7th in the nation with 734 points. She knows how to score the ball. But when she transferred to Kansas State, when the recruiting was happening with Jeff Mitty, he said she wasn't asking about, will I start? What will my minutes be? She wanted to come to an established roster that was prepared to make an impact in the NCAA tournament, that was prepared to maybe win a Big 12 championship. She wanted to go where she could make a contribution right away, and she has fit in very nicely for Coach Mitty.
Poindexter, one of 3 Wildcats that has 20 or more steals on the season. They get after it defensively.
Yeah, we talk a lot about their offense, but defensively, this team is just as solid as anybody in the nation.
Lester, a patient move with Gillespie back in for BYU in the post, and she scores off the glass. 9-point Kansas State lead once again. Congdon, long, Lester with the rebound. We're starting to see great things from Lester, who is the reserve post, but now she's healthy, Kristen, and it's making a difference.
Yeah, between her and Kennedy Taylor, your backup posts, really to have them is such a luxury. We talk about Lee and what she can do, but if they can allow Lee to rest and have those moments where she can take some time on the bench, regroup herself, and come back in, you're going to get a much better Aoka Lee.
Sides, and is fouled by Congdon. Clear, easy call to make. Congdon grabbing Sides' wrist. And Terran will go to the free throw line for 2.
Terran Sides, nice rip through. She's quick, she's shifty, does a good job drawing the contact from Congdon, and Congdon's got the height advantage, but chose to reach in on the ball. Sides yet to hit a 3-point shot in this game or a field goal nonetheless, but
she's a 51% 3-point shooter on the season, and she's 42 of 82 beyond the arc coming into the game. But funny enough, those are only the second and third free throw attempts she's had all season.
Yeah, she prefers that 3 ball, that's for sure. Second in the nation with that 51%, as you mentioned.
11-point Kansas State lead. A little bit of a dangerous area for BYU here. Cannon to Hampson. Heather Hampson. An unexpected 8 points for BYU off the bench.
Kept the ball high. She did a really good job. Once she caught that ball, just going up strong.
Cambry Barber. Blocked away, and it's last touched by Walker, who wanted a foul. BYU basketball, 3:09 to play before half.
Great opportunity now for BYU. Build off of that. Those are momentum plays for this team. They really feed off of their defense.
Gibb nearly lost it. Walker is the team leader in steals with 35 coming into today. Hampson can't score off the pick and roll right there. Gibb battling, and the possession arrow will give it to BYU on the jump ball.
Boy, the easy bunny right there for Hampson. Beautiful job from Gibb to find her once again.
I did not have on the bingo card for this game today that Heather Hampson would be BYU's leading scorer as we approach half, but that is where we stand. Congdon for 3, good look. Barber with the putback, can't score it. So many good looks for BYU, none of them dropping in the last minute.
Missed opportunities by the Cougars.
Poindexter to Sides. Sundell with Barber on her back. Back to Poindexter, 6 and 5, and Poindexter, they're gonna count the bucket. Well, that has the bench for BYU incensed collectively.
Look at the confidence in Poindexter as she came off of that shot. Just doing a really good job taking what the defense gives her. She's had open looks from 3. She takes the shot. She's knocked down three 3-pointers in this game, but when they fly at her and contest that, she's put on the floor and can get to the rim. Good size in there at 6'2" and a great ability off the bounce.
It's now a 12-point lead for Kansas State. Poindexter completes the three-point play. She's got 16 points.
It's her 11th game of the season in double figures.
She averages about 12 a game, so she's 4 over that before halftime. Barber overshoots everything right there. Sundell. 43-28, Kansas State.
That's a big-time shot from Sundell. That's just her 9th make from three-point. Definitely not a strength of hers. Her strength is put the ball on the floor or post up a smaller defender, but a big shot.
Good no-look pass from Cannon to Barber, and then there's a late whistle. Sundell can't believe it. BYU trying to stop the bleeding here and pay off a three-point play of their own.
Cambry Barber and Brinley Cannon, they call them the twins. They're not sisters, but they look identical. They play similar because they're so aggressive. They're always moving. They play with a lot of energy and can really be sparks off the bench for BYU, but she can't convert on the three-point play.
That ends a long scoring drought for BYU. But as you mentioned, Kristen, the missed free throw keeps Kansas State in front by 13.
There's Barber, once again, getting a tip on the ball.
The effort.
And with this lineup, I think you keep Barber on Poindexter as much as possible. She's a lengthy defender for BYU, and yes, they're going to keep her on Poindexter, try to slow her down.
Sides, shot swatted by Gibb. Ball falls out of bounds. The BYU fans offer their approval for the defensive effort from Delaney Gibb.
Delaney Gibb with 3-inch advantage in height and just does a good job chasing sides, not fouling or locating the ball. Good recovery defensively.
Sundell gets it right back from Lee on the inbound. Lee, strong move around Hampson, scores with the left hand.
She's so good at reading where the defense is and feeling Hampson on her back and making the read to get to the basket.
Delaney Gibb on attack. She's fouled and will shoot 2 free throws. That'll go against Lee. Her first personal foul with 50.4 seconds to play before we take the halftime break.
Delaney Gibb had a hot first start in that first quarter, had 7 points all coming in the first frame, has not scored to this point here in the second, and boy, they really needed her offense. It's hard as a freshman though, because teams are continuing to make adjustments. You have phenomenal coaches in the Big 12 that try to take away your strength, and if you start hitting from the outside or driving, they're going to try and eliminate that. So the adjustments are always ongoing.
Both free throws good for Gibb. 45-32. Sundell. Pass. Somehow Lee collects and scores it.
What can't she do?
An impossible angle. Davenport. Whiting, big three on the way for BYU. Rims off. Lee with the rebound. And Kansas State with a 15-point lead. Shot clock out. Oh, Whiting is harassing, comes up with the steal. And she'll be tied up. Possession arrow keeps it with Kansas State. Now 20.4 to play.
Coach Whiting doing everything she can to get the officials' attention to call a timeout, and they just did not have the awareness to see that she was trying to get that timeout.
Kansas State's offense humming, to say the least. 47 first half points.
They're shooting 49% overall. They're 29% from three-point, just 4 of 14. But they've done a really good job getting that inside-outside look and a balance with Lee and Poindexter carrying it.
Sundell finds Poindexter, open three, got it! 19 first half points for Tamira Poindexter, and Kansas State has an even 50 in the first 20 minutes of play.
Well, credit Serena Sundell, the veteran point guard. She's got 7 assists on that pass to Poindexter. The defense completely shifted strong side, and she was looking at Lee on the roll, or she's looking opposite to Poindexter, depending on how the defense adjusts. Beautiful pass from the senior guard.
BYU head coach Amber Whiting, understandably frustrated. She's with Jasmine Papinga.
Coach, I know there isn't any
basketball team in Kansas State and a BYU team that's trying to build as they still continue the transition into Power 4 play. A moment ago, Jasmine Papinga speaking with the head coach, Kansas State, Jeff Mitty.
Coach, what do you feel like your team is doing well so far in the first half?
You know, I thought we made some good decisions with the basketball. I think the one thing, they're being real physical with our centers. We were able to use that. We found Poindexter a lot, and, you know, she knocked some shots down. I thought Sundell had a good look to her at the end of the half, so pleased with that. Defensively, we've got to play better. I thought BYU was the aggressor off the bounce.
Sometimes teams can get complacent with this large of a lead coming into the second half. How are you going to keep your team's edge?
Well, I think if we do that, BYU is a good enough team that they'll run back at us. I would expect them to make a push. They've got too many good players playing at home. We're going to have to handle that kind of adversity in this half.
Thank you, Coach.
Jeff Mitty and his 12th ranked Wildcat team get a turnover off of BYU's opening possession, and Lee leaves the layup short after a good look. The Cougars get a defensive stop. Kemery Congdon wants Emma Calvert inside. Delaney Gibb keeps it in play and in possession of BYU. Gibb for three. In and out. Lee with the rebound. Her fourth of the game.
Well, can BYU come out, even though they took that first three-pointer, can they come out the aggressor? We heard from Coach Mitty, and I do think BYU did a really good job playing downhill, particularly to the start of the game and getting to the rim.
Well, speaking of getting to the rim, Ziana Walker. She is Kansas State's version of BYU's Amari Whiting.
Yeah,
she scores it off the glass. Also
a sophomore guard. She's a redshirt sophomore, but very versatile, and I like that comparison. I think she's very similar to what Whiting can do for this team. And
a pest on defense, and Calvert turns it over. Two early turnovers for BYU in this third quarter. The Cougars only turned it over 6 times in the first half. That's a really good number for BYU. But then again, Kansas State had one turnover as a team in the first half.
Have 1 over 6.
Lee short as she shoots over Calvert. Whiting has Gibb in transition. It's a 20-point Kansas State lead. Gibb, crossover dribble, floater, good. You see the moments of brilliance and these flashes of outstanding play from Delaney Gibb, but she still is a young player, and that's just part of the deal on this BYU side, Kristen. The guard line's really young, and growing pains are never fun. It's hard not to be impatient, but this is a growth period.
She's young, but doesn't have a ton of support offensively. That is consistent.
Wow! Poindexter picks up right where she left off in the first half. She's got a game-high 22 points, 8 of 12 from the field. She's made 5 threes. Davenport cannot answer back for BYU. Lee with another rebound. 12 points, 5 rebounds for Ayoka Lee.
As we go back to Delaney Gibb, she's trying to do everything. She's a creator right now off the bounce. She's trying to get to the bucket off the bounce for herself and for her teammates. But right now you have Heather Hampson, who's behind her with those 8 points, and it's just not enough as you have so much balance on the other side of the ball. Ayoka Lee continues to dominate the paint. Now an advantage of 30 to 14 points in the paint for this Wildcats team.
Great pass inside by Jalen Glenn. Yet another assist for Kansas State. The Wildcats, 17 assists on 23 makes. They are the #1 team in the country in sharing the basketball and assist to turnover ratio. And they get another stop defensively.
Well, they know what works, and they continue to go to it, and that's Ayoka Lee inside. And what that does is it's going to just open everything else up on the perimeter. She demands so much attention, but look right here. As Congdon gets lost defensively, Poindexter just coming right around that screen action. And then the pass inside, they always had their head up, looking for Lee, who's constantly working away from the basketball to seal and try to create that opportunity for the lob.
Lester holding straight away. Praised by her coach for her passing ability. Shot clock down to 3. Walker, Sundell, and the shot clock expires. And a rare lack of awareness by Kansas State. Haven't seen hardly any of that today.
We really didn't see the ball too much in Sundell's hands, and that's what you get, I think, when that veteran point guard is not running things up top. She's really that engine that kind of helps this team go. She's going to come out and take a breather. You know, but you do need some of these younger players to be aware of the clock and time and score as that clock's coming down.
Taryn Sides checks in for Sundell. Delaney Gibb flips it back out to Cambry Barber. Barber poked away. Gibb collects. Gibb pass. Brinley Cannon. Good move. Good looking shot, and it drops in for three.
The composure from the freshman does a good job of selling it on the shot fake. She knew that they were going to fly at her, and then just taking that one dribble sidestep to create a better look.
The energy and lift from Cannon and Barber has been notable for BYU. BYU's trying to build into something that Kansas State is. So when you get players like Gibb and Barber and Cannon, who are no longer freshmen, they're into their upper class years. This is where Amber Whiting's hoping BYU can then become one of those top-tier teams in the Big 12, but it is a build.
If you got those three at your core, they're going to be phenomenal because so much talent in those three freshmen. And what you love is that they can defend, too.
Tough-minded young players learning some hard lessons. Kansas State, the teacher today. Sides. Goes back out to Lester. 17-footer, no good. Rebounded by Barber.
That's a shot that BYU is very willing to give up. Those long twos from Lester. So defensively, they did their job if they're forcing the wild.
Kansas State, perfect in Big 12 play. Pushing towards what they hope is a top 10 ranking soon. In control over BYU. Led by Tamira Poindexter's 22 points and Aoka Lee's 14. It's a Kansas State team, Kristen, that in their first 4 Big 12 games is winning by an average of 20. And that is not the exception when you look at the overall play they've had, including non-conference. They are destroying teams on the regular.
It definitely gets tougher when you get into Big 12. So it's not a 33-point advantage that we had in the preseason.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most dominant teams that Coach Mitty has had because of the veteran leadership and the players that decided to come back, his core group that has been with him for years. They play the right way, they're fundamental, and I love the pressure coming out of the timeout.
Hattie Ogden is into the game for BYU, frustrated. Oh, goodness. I'm not sure how they call that a jump ball scenario. Ogden was complaining she got slapped on both wrists. Amber Whiting's pointing that out.
Well, they're calling a jump because they don't know who it went off of. So at that point, the consensus is we got to call a jump. If they all don't have an angle on who slapped it out, this is not a reviewable play. Wow.
Oh.
That's where BYU's frustrated, and duly so, because she got it all over the wrist.
When you're down 20, the frustration is boiling over.
Well, and we heard from Coach Whiting at the half. It's score and stop, and BYU's not been able to do this in the quarter. All right, here's a stop. You force a turnover, you force the travel from some down. Now capitalize. Can BYU turn the corner? And it may not necessarily be to win this game, but this has to happen for them to win games in the Big 12 against a Cincinnati that we didn't see, or against teams that they should be beating.
Delaney Gibb with the left hand. Kristen, she's so good scoring at the rim with that. It's almost like, I'm not sure what to call it, but it's not awkward because she's so smooth with it, but jumping off the wrong foot and scoring sometimes with the unorthodox hand. She's just such a skilled scorer around the hoop.
She really has been able to get wherever she wants off the bounce. She can put the ball on the floor and watch Lee. Lee's got to come over and help this. If she's worried about Kendra Gillespie, you've got Gibb, who had scored 11 points at that point. You got to key in on her and make sure that she can't get all the way around, because to this point in the game, that'll be something they watch on film. She has been able to get wherever she wants off the bounce.
Sides for three, no good. Offensive rebound is tracked down. Here is Sundell. Sanchez. Side cycle to Sundell. They want Lee inside. They get her. No good on the first attempt. Gets the offensive rebound and scores with the foul on the putback. Aoka Lee, 16 points, with a shot at 17 coming from the charity stripe.
Well, Gillespie does a pretty good job initially making her shoot off balance, but then the weak side box, Hattie Ogden has to be there on the help side. She's got to be there quicker, and then you're in position to maybe box her out on that second attempt. But Lee is relentless in there, and she is just as consistent as they come.
That bucket, by the way, ends almost a 4-minute scoring drought for Kansas State. Free throw was good, so she's got 17. That, along with Poindexter's 22, giving Kansas State 39 of their 60 points. In fact, Lee and Poindexter have equal BYU's team total. Glenn left wide open in transition. Boy, blatant defensive breakdown for BYU in transition.
And part of that is Gibb was on the floor as she attacked the basket, but her teammates have to recognize, help her out, communicate, mark up the shooters.
Hattie Ogden wants Hampson inside. Hampson trying to get a double-figure scoring, goes to the reverse layup. She's fouled by Lee. On that reverse attempt, Hampson earns a trip to the free throw line.
Hampson with 8 points in the first half to go along with 2 rebounds. And a good, strong, aggressive move right there at one of the top players in the nation, Aoka Lee, 6'6". Hampson is 6'3", but I love the confidence that she tried to attack and get to the rim, drawing the contact.
First free throw is good. Let's check in with Jasmine Papinga with more on Kansas State's defense.
Coach Mitty told us that this defense practices as they play on game days, which reflects in their last 2 games as they've been able to hold their last 2 opponents to about an average of 50 points or less scored. Spencer?
That's the BYU defense. On the topic of defense, Sundell's layup attempt is swatted out of bounds. 2:20, clock's still running, by the way. And that 3 bounces in, so.
It didn't matter, but it should have stopped.
63-40 Kansas State. Whiting terminates her dribble at the left elbow, forced to go back out to Lauren Davenport. Congdon, short corner right, leaves it short. Offensive rebound grabbed by Hampson. To Whiting, into the paint, creating an opportunity for Congdon. Offensive rebound again for Hampson. Ogden. Davenport, top of the key. Around sides, bounces to Hampson. That pass with too many hands in that passing lane, and Kansas State forces the 12th BYU turnover of the game. Now 66-40. 29-point lead. After that, Serena Sundell 3. She's made 2 today, Kristen, and the barrage continues.
Yeah, coming in, we mentioned that she has struggled shooting from the outside, just 21% from distance, only made 8 threes all season, and she's got 2 in this game alone, and to go along with 10 assists. Got a double-double, 10 points, 10 assists for the Wildcats.
Congdon, not a high-quality shot attempt there.
If you watch Sundell, she's just dissecting it in her mind and what she's going to do with the basketball, waiting for her team to set up, and then really does a good job reading the defense. If they're going to pinch in on Lee, she's going to skip that pass across the court.
12-1 run for Kansas State over the last 2:19. Make it 14-1. Lee. All muscle inside. And she now has 19.
That high-low is so difficult to defend because where do you bring the help from? It's a straight-up pass from Sanchez into Lee, and so it's a one-on-one with Hampson in there trying to defend Lee.
Kansas State outscoring BYU here in the third quarter, 21-8 to build this current 31-point lead. Hampson going to be called for a walk. Aoka Lee still fully engaged. I don't know how much more we're going to see of the starters, Kristen, as we approach the fourth quarter with Kansas State up 31. They've played hard. They have run a lot in this thin mountain air, and Jeff Mitty's team in great position to maybe build some depth. Feeling good, up 71-40.
We have 3 turnovers And that's 29 made field goals, so 20 assists on 29. That's an incredible number and just shows you how well this team moves the basketball, how many scoring weapons they have. They have 3 in double figures right now. They are disciplined, and they are right where they should be at that 12th, and I think that they're going to move up for how well they handled Utah and what they're doing as BYU here today in the poll.
A 20-3 assist-to-turnover ratio. And there's been one of the few bright spots for BYU. Freshman Brinley Cannon gets bumped and scores it off the glass.
We talked about it at the break, you and I, as we were at commercial break. These freshmen never stop playing for BYU. Brinley Cannon, Cambry Barber, and Delaney Gibb. They are all out, hustle, effort, intensity on both sides of the floor.
I expect to see them for the majority of the remainder of this game. Amber Whiting really values effort and wants to see her team battle certainly here to the end and not just mail it in. The Cougars, for the moment, look to be led by those freshmen right now, Kristen, in doing so. There's a reach in on Cannon.
But these are great moments for them to continue to learn, right? And battle against one of the top teams, not only the Big 12, but in the nation, and compete.
Walker gives to Poindexter, who took a lengthy break. Inside, Taylor, offensive foul. That's just the 4th turnover on Kansas State compared to those 20 assists. Would you take that stat line, Kristen?
Absolutely.
20 assists as a team to 4 turnovers.
Delaney Gibb doing a really good job, just being in the right spot, drawing that charge. She's been solid today for BYU and really their biggest offensive threat in every single game this season. She's at the top of the scouting report, 13 points, but not much support after that. Hampson has 9. And you got Amari Whiting with 0 points in the game. She's coming off her career high 20 points. They need more offense out of Whiting.
Whiting floats it back out to Congdon on the right wing. She'll dribble straight away. And that's just an errant pass by Congdon. Wanted Gibb on the wing, and it's out of bounds back to Kansas State. 14 turnovers for BYU.
And Kansas State has scored 14 points off of those turnovers, and those will continue to add up, especially when you play a team that executes at such a high level in their half-court set. So even if it's a dead ball turnover like we saw there, they're capitalizing in the half-court.
3 rims off from Sanchez. Gibb pushing the tempo.
She is working so hard out there.
Geico's 85 years isn't just about time, you know. It means experience. If I told you I'd been jarring raspberry preserves for 85 years, you'd be like, that has got to be some scrumptious jam.
She's got size to match Sanchez, but when Sanchez picked up her dribble, it was on, and Barber was just gonna not give her any inch to see where to pass that ball out.
Whiting. Good move. Boy, just not her day shooting the basketball.
And finishing when she's at full speed coming downhill, that's been something she struggled with throughout the season, and it's something that she needs to get better at because she has a very quick first step. She can get right by you with the change of speed, but you've got to finish.
Walker, she scores with Whiting defending.
There's so many weapons on this Kansas State team and a lot of balance. 4 players in double figures with 1 at 9.8. There's a good look from Calvert very quickly.
Quick trigger offense for BYU. Pass up the sideline, give immediately to Calvert, and the quick spin and score. Over Lester as well. Sanchez in some trouble. Fortunate to not give that away. Lester guarded by Calvert. Gibb digging down, knocks the ball away for the moment. Poindexter gets to Sanchez. Shot clock winding down, and Sanchez drops it in. 10th three-point make for Kansas State. They're 10 of 23 from beyond the arc. Still shooting over 50% from the field as a team for the game. It's 80-52. We'll take another break. Big 12 women's basketball winding down in Provo. We'll pick it up after this.
Geico's whole
Life is good for Coach Middies. Got 2 grandchildren. A third is on the way sometime in the next week or 2.
His daughter Madison, who's on the staff, expecting, he said, in the next week or so. And fun to hear him talk about his grandkids who call him Coach. Don't call him Grandpa, don't call him Papa, they call him Coach.
Delaney Gibb, that's Emma Calvert inside. Good pass and finish. Emma Calvert now with 9 points. It's 80-54. Kansas State still firmly in control. Maupin. And the response immediately.
Nice curl cut from Maupin and just kept her momentum, taking her right to the basket. And you know Sundell's going to find her. She's always got her head on the swivel. That's the 11th assist now for Serena Sundell, the nation's leading assist leader.
11 assists, 1 turnover for Serena Sundell. She's got 12 points too. She made 2 threes. Calvert from Gibb again. And a blocking foul is called inside. It goes against Sides. We'll take another look with 4:09 to play in the game. Calvert to the free throw line for BYU.
A much easier pathway to the basket when Aoka Lee's on the bench for Calvert, but Calvert now with 10 points. She'll join Delaney Gibb in double figures. Gibb with 18.
Calvert drops in both. BYU has made 5 of the last 6 shots overall. Kansas State has responded by making their last 4 overall. Maupin saves it in bounds, back to Sundell. Sanchez, right corner 3, around and down. 11 made threes for Kansas State. Cannon, back to Calvert, quick trigger, and that's good too. Emma Calvert quickly with 13 points. Teams content to trade buckets here late in the game.
Limited minutes for Calvert for sure. She got those early fouls, but she continues to try to be aggressive. She's such a big part of what they do and setting the tone in the paint. She anchors the defense.
Poindexter had 19 points at halftime. Hasn't played a ton in the second half. She's got 22 right now. Her season high is 23. Maupin, and 1 on another assist from Serena Sundell. Her 13th assist.
I'm telling you, Eliza Maupin is a smart player because when they are playing with a player like Serena Sundell, if you just cut to the basket, she will find you. If you stay active away from the basketball like we've seen Maupin, defense turns their head, she is back cutting to the rim. Serena Sundell is so crafty with the basketball and just picks you apart.
Free throw is missed. And the loose ball is tracked down by Naya Tanuvasa. Freshman point guard. Getting some minutes here late in this game for BYU. Patty Ogden. Backdoor cut. Cambria Barber still moving well without the basketball.
Heads up play from Ogden. Just a little sliver of a pass in there between the defense.
Maupin saves the pass from Sides. Poindexter for a new season high. No good. Ball collected by Cannon. Poindexter steals it away. Sticks her tongue out at her team's bench. Sundell. Maupin missed it. Oh, with a 14th assist.
We're robbed her from that extra assist. How about the tongue stick out at her team, Poindexter?
Tanuvasa drops in a 3, and that gets some applause from her head coach, Amber Whiting. Naya Tanuvasa is a player that has performed well recently in practice. Coach Whiting said we probably need to find ways for her and Hattie Ogden to get a few more minutes.
It's her first 3-point make of the season.
Poindexter's got that season high 24 on the backdoor cut, 89-63. Just over 90 seconds to play in the game. Heather Hampson working on double figures perhaps, and she's got it. Heather Hampson with 11 points, third BYU player into double figures.
Nice patience in there and going to that secondary move as she went left shoulder. It wasn't quite there, got mopping up and the up and under.
Substitution for Coach Mitty. Kennedy Taylor checking back in. Need to make a correction. I gave 2 points to Lester earlier when I should have said Kennedy Taylor. Let's get Kennedy her due credit in that number 12 jersey and setting the screen for Sundell. Sides. And there the three drops in for Taryn Sides, best three-point shooter on this Kansas State team, and she drops it in with just over a minute to play.
Second in the nation, 51% from distance coming in.
Tanu Vasa, a float pass intended for Hampson is knocked out of bounds on the baseline. 53 seconds to play, 21 seconds on the shot clock for BYU. The Cougars go back to the drawing board. Try and rebound after going 1-1 at home this week. Cannon offers up a three, no good. Kansas State will take their swagger back to Manhattan after running through the Beehive State, Kristen. Dominating 22nd ranked Utah at the Huntsman Center in Salt Lake City, and it continued in Provo at the Marriott Center.
Yeah, won that game 71-47 after a monster first quarter, and then continued to do the same here against BYU. BYU, though, in that first quarter, that was by far their best quarter, where they scored 20 points to Kansas State 23, and then combined for 20 in the next two quarters. So second and third, they only scored 20 total. They've scored 25 here in the fourth, though.
Sundell. Taylor missed a couple of layup attempts. Cannon spinning. Taylor collects the rebound off the miss, and Sundell content to dribble out the clock. Kansas State making another road statement and making a case to get some top 10 votes in the new AP poll that comes out early next week. They win by a final score of 92-65. The Wildcats led by Poindexter's season best 24 points. Ayoka Lee adding 19 points and 7 rebounds. And how about Serena Sundell? I've seen a lot of stat lines, Kristen. Very often have I seen a double-double where there are more assists than points, but that's where we are with 12 points and 13 assists.
Well, she tied BYU's team assists. She had 13 individually. BYU as a team had 13 assists. I mean, just her value and importance to this team and what she does between Lee and Sundell, those are the two that drive the train for Coach Mitty. A solid performance from this team and showcasing why they are one of the top teams in the nation. The balance they have, the consistency at executing at a high level, an elite level, that is something BYU can learn from. BYU needs to get better from. They can't have the letdowns like we saw in that second and third quarter, because they did a really good job in the first and fourth, but just could not quite hang and defend in those middle quarters. But I thought there were some bright spots for BYU, particularly with Heather Hampson. Heather Hampson, when they had to go to her into foul trouble, she finished with 11 points on 4 of 6 shooting. She did have 6 rebounds as well. And then the freshman, Delaney Gibb, continues to be a star.
Tamyra Poindexter is our player of the game with those 24 points. She's with Jasmine Papinga.
Today you scored your season high points of 24. What was your mentality coming into today's game?
Just to be aggressive. We know this is going to be a tough fight. I mean, we know they were going to, suck in on Yoki a lot. So I feel like I just looked to score a little bit more and just be confident.
Today is your 12th win of this season, and it's a